Big Bash League cricket has always been about moments, momentum, and matchups, and few fixtures capture that better than a Melbourne derby between the Renegades and the Stars. When two teams from the same city meet, the familiar surroundings, shared history, and overlapping fan bases create a different kind of contest, one where form and reputation matter, but composure and decision-making often matter more. This match between the Melbourne Renegades and the Melbourne Stars brings together two sides who know each other well, play their home games on similar surfaces, and understand exactly what is required to compete in the pressure cooker environment of a city rivalry. The purpose of this video is to take a calm, detailed look at this matchup from a cricketing and analytical perspective, exploring team balance, conditions, player roles, and value-based betting ideas in a responsible and informative way. This is not financial advice, and nothing discussed here should be taken as a guarantee of outcome. Instead, this analysis is designed to help viewers better understand the match itself and how different factors come together in Big Bash cricket. The Big Bash League has become one of the most recognizable T20 tournaments in the world, known for its fast pace, unpredictable results, and the way individual performances can quickly change the direction of a game. Unlike longer formats, T20 cricket compresses pressure into every over, making decision-making crucial and magnifying the impact of small errors. Teams often rotate players, manage workloads, and adapt strategies depending on venue and opposition, which means pre-match analysis is always about probabilities rather than certainties. In a derby match like this, those variables are even more pronounced because both teams are accustomed to the conditions and are familiar with each other's strengths and weaknesses. The Melbourne Renegades have typically approached T20 cricket with an emphasis on balance and adaptability. Rather than relying solely on one or two star players, they often look to contributions from across the lineup, particularly from all-rounders who can influence the game in more than one discipline. Their batting approach has varied over the years, sometimes leaning towards stability at the top and acceleration later, and at other times placing more responsibility on the middle order to control the tempo. This flexibility can be both a strength and a challenge, as it requires players to be clear in their roles and adaptable under pressure. In recent matches, the Renegades have shown signs of resilience, particularly in games where they have had to recover from difficult positions. Their ability to stay competitive even when early wickets fall is often linked to the presence of players who can absorb pressure and rebuild innings. From a betting analysis perspective, this is relevant because it means that top-order batters may not always dominate scoring, creating opportunities in markets that focus on middle-order contributions. Players who bat slightly lower but face meaningful deliveries often become overlooked in favor of more obvious names, even though they may be central to the team's plans. Will Sutherland is a good example of a player whose value is sometimes underestimated in surface-level analysis. As captain, he carries responsibility not just in terms of leadership, but also in setting the tone for how the Renegades compete. His role often involves contributing with both bat and ball, which means his involvement in the match is rarely minimal. In T20 cricket, players who have multiple avenues to impact the game tend to be more engaged, and that engagement can translate into confidence. From batting perspective, Sutherland's position in the order allows him to either consolidate or accelerate depending on the situation, making him a viable candidate in top batsman discussions when conditions suit. The Renegades' bowling unit is another area worth examining. In the Big Bash, bowling plans are often designed around specific overs rather than long spells. Power play overs are about containment and wickets, middle overs are about control, and death overs are about execution under pressure. The Renegades have often relied on a mix of pace and variation, using changes of speed and angle to disrupt batters rather than sheer pace alone. This approach can be effective at Melbourne venues, where the pitch and boundaries reward smart bowling as much as raw aggression. Turning attention to the Melbourne Stars, their Big Bash identity has traditionally been built around star power and explosive potential. When their key players perform, the Stars are capable of putting up imposing totals or chasing targets quickly. However, that reliance on standout performances can sometimes lead to inconsistency, particularly if early wickets fall or if opposition bowlers successfully neutralize their main threats. Understanding this dynamic is crucial when analyzing their chances in a derby match, where opposition planning is often meticulous. The Stars' batting lineup typically features players who are capable of scoring quickly, especially in the power play. This can put immediate pressure on bowlers, but it also increases risk. When early aggression does not come off, the middle order can be forced into a rebuilding role earlier than planned. Players like Hilton Cartwright often find themselves in these situations, where their role becomes pivotal even if they are not the headline names. Cartwright's ability to adapt his scoring rate based on match context makes him an interesting case study in value-based betting markets, where his odds may not fully reflect his importance to the team structure. From a bowling perspective, the Stars often look to strike early and defend totals through disciplined execution at the death. Their success in this area tends to depend on how well they match their bowlers to specific batters and phases of the innings. In derby matches, where batters are familiar with bowling styles, small tactical adjustments can make a significant difference. This again highlights why matches between these two teams are rarely straightforward and why pre-match predictions must be approached with caution. Venue conditions play a major role in shaping how this match might unfold. Melbourne venues such as Marvel Stadium are generally known for consistent surfaces and relatively predictable bounce. These conditions tend to favor batters who play straight and bowlers who rely on accuracy and variation rather than swing or seam movement. The absence of significant weather impact means teams can plan more confidently, although toss decisions still matter in terms of scoreboard pressure and chasing dynamics. Historically, matches at this venue have produced competitive totals rather than extreme scores, which places emphasis on partnerships and sustained pressure rather than short bursts alone. For betting analysis, this suggests that markets focused on individual milestones or top performers should be evaluated in the context of shared contributions rather than expecting one dominant innings. When multiple players contribute evenly, outsider selections can become more attractive than heavily favored options. Head-to-head meetings between the Renegades and Stars have often been closely contested, with momentum swinging between teams over the course of the match. Derby games tend to magnify errors but also reward composure, as players are aware of the significance of the end.